Yeah, we back with another one, man. We back with another episode. So today, man, let's jump right into it. Not wasting no time. Take a look up on the screen. The German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, had warned that the coup plotters in Niger must face harsh consequences should anything happen to President Bazoum or his family. Now, first things first, who is the German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock? Take a look up on the screen. Now, the reason why it's important for me to highlight these statements that are made by these other European politicians that are not even directly involved in a conflict, because keep in mind, this is a conflict economically and politically between the government of Niger and the government of France. But you notice how France has the entire European Union standing with France. We've seen so many statements made by other European heads of state, American heads of state, American diplomats, European diplomats, and it really shows you the solidarity that European nations have among each other. And you contrast with the way that African nations are acting amongst each other. West Africa is completely divided straight down the middle, but the European Union as a whole is standing together. They are rocking together. Regardless of their national backgrounds, regardless of their ethnic backgrounds, they are standing in solidarity with each other. Meanwhile, West Africa is mobilizing for war. It's ridiculous, man. It's really ridiculous. But anyways, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Mali has revoked Air France's permit to fly between Paris and Bamako after the carrier suspended operations to and from the country over regional instability. The Malian authority said the suspension breached the terms of its permit to operate the route in a letter addressed to Air France. The National Civilian Agency said the company had not provided notice and caused inconvenience to passengers. This failing entails the cancellation of your flight operating permit for the summer season extending to October, and other airlines could use the route. Now, let's continue. Thousands of coup supporters rallied near a French military base in Niger. Take a look up on the screen, as you can see. And later on in the video, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, right, how Niger and those who may be supporting Niger behind the scenes, including Mali and Burkina Faso, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, how not only Niger, but any underdog nation, if you are going against a major power, because keep in mind, ECOWAS has some major players that are back in their play, right? I told you yesterday, the United States, France, the European Union, the African Union, the UN, all the major international organizations are supporting the military intervention that ECOWAS is alleging that they're going to make in Niger. So I'm going to show you, in my opinion, I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to tell you how they can defeat not only ECOWAS and the United States and France, etc., but how they can switch the court of public opinion onto their side. And not only that, but I'm going to tell you how they can switch the narrative completely. Stay tuned to the end of the video. Let's go. Thousands of coup supporters rallied near a French military base in Niger on Friday, a day after West African leaders say they would muster a standby military force in their efforts to reinstate the country's overthrown leader. Protesting near the base on the outskirts of the capital, they shouted, "Down with France, down with ECOWAS," a reference to the West African bloc, which on Thursday approved a military deployment of a standby force to restore order. Under pressure to stem a cascade of coups among its members, ECOWAS had previously issued a 7-day ultimatum to the coup leaders to return Bazoum to power, but the regime defied the deadline, which expired on Sunday without any action being taken. And I guess in this part of the article, they had interviewed some of the people at the protests. This person said this: "We are going to make the French leave. ECOWAS is not independent. It's being manipulated by France," said one demonstrator, Aziz Rabe Ali, a member of a students' union. Former colonial power France has around 1,500 military personnel in Niger as part of a force battling an 8-year-old jihadist insurgency. It is facing growing hostility across the Sahel, withdrawing its anti-jihadist force from neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso last year after falling out with the military governments that ousted the elected leaders. Niger's new leaders scrapped defense agreements with France last week, while a hostile protest outside the French embassy in Niamey on July 30th prompted Paris to evacuate its citizens. ECOWAS on Thursday approved the deployment of what it called a standby force to restore order in Niger following an emergency summit in the Nigerian capital, Abuja. Chiefs of staff from ECOWAS members will meet on Saturday in Ghana's capital of Accra. The West African Defense Meeting on Niger has been postponed. A planned meeting by West African Chiefs of Defense Staff to discuss the coup in Niger has been postponed at short notice. The talks have been expected to take place in the Ghanaian capital of Accra. No reason was given for the delay. West African countries suspend a key military meeting on the standby force. The meeting meant to brief leaders about the best options for deploying force to Niger was delayed indefinitely for technical reasons. All right, moving on. It is being reported that there are massive protests taking place in Nigeria against possible military intervention in Niger. Because keep in mind, if ECOWAS was to deploy a military force to Niger, I mean, obviously besides support from the Western powers, Nigeria is slated to be the one that's going to offer the most manpower and funding for the operation, you know, apart from the member states. But Nigeria is going to be the one really, you know, applying the manpower. So in Kano State, Nigeria, they're protesting against military intervention. Take a look up on the screen. Kano is Nigeria's second largest city, and it saw a major rally as thousands of protesters converged on the streets to express their categorical opposition to any form of military intervention under the fiery slogans of "No to War" and "Down with France and America." The crowd raised their voices in a powerful and unified way. This unprecedented demonstration reflects the extent of the growing concern about any military action in Niger. As President Tinubu finds himself increasingly under pressure within his own country, it is now clear that even the Senate, the highest legislative body, has recently expressed its opposition to any military initiative in the region. Now, take a look up on the screen. Natalie Am, shout out to Natalie Am. She said this: the French flag being dragged on the ground, the flag of Niger being waved proudly in Kano, Nigeria today. A demonstration to denounce the illegal aggression of France against Niger being carried out through the vassal organization ECOWAS. Now, in French, ECOWAS is spelled CEDEAO, but it's you know, translated to English, it's ECOWAS, but in French, it's CEDEAO. Now, anyways, let's continue. Now, as you can see, take a look up on the screen. The good brothers in Nigeria, they were indeed dragging the French flag on the ground, giving it the proper treatment that it deserves. Now, let's continue. The Nigerian military has warned about a plot to instigate the army to overthrow President Tinubu. The Nigerian Armed Force High Command says there are plots from different quarters to instigate members of the Army of Nigeria to overthrow the present administration led by Bola Tinubu. The spokesman for the Nigerian Armed Forces, however, has said that the military does not express dissatisfaction with the existing system in the country and will not allow itself to be involved in any action against the current administration. Now, there was a press release that was put out by the Nigerian Armed Forces. I'm going to put it up on the screen. You can read it. You can pause the video and read it. And yeah, so anyways, let's move on. Take a look up on the screen. Fear and anger in Niamey, that's the capital of Niger, as ECOWAS threatens force. Now, if you've been watching my series, then you already know what I had said, because when I spoke about the fact that the United States had sent that high-ranking diplomat, Victoria Nuland, and even in the beginning of the video, I spoke about that politician from Germany, the woman who said that the military government in Niger, they need to face the harshest consequences. And throughout this series, I spoke about many European women who have put out statements in support of France, in support of the Western powers, how many of them said that they need to apply even harsher sanctions against the people. And what many people don't understand is when you apply sanctions to a country, the people that you claim to be fighting against, they're not the ones that's going to feel the most, they're not the ones that are going to feel the most pain. The people that feel the most pain when you economically and politically sanction a country, it's the common man and woman. It's the common boy and girl. That's why it's hypocritical when you see these nations come out and they say, oh, we're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for the citizens. But at the same time, you're punishing the citizens. You're making the life of the citizen even harder just because you have your own political battle that you're trying to fight. Because you have your own personal interest that you're trying to protect. Because you want to protect the interests of your multinational corporations, you're willing to destroy the lives of innocent people. And in this article, they talk about that. Let's get into it. Zara Kada serves up dishes of rice, fish, and vegetables in plastic bowls to her customers sitting on wooden benches in the capital of Niger. This business is a lifeline for the widowed mother of 7, but it's under threat as food prices have shot up after economic sanctions were imposed after the military seized power. Not only has the price of rice increased, but also that of cooking oil. It's an increase of $4 in just 1 week, she says, standing by her small food stall. This causes us problems because if I prepare the rice and I can't sell it, there will be no profits, only losses. Now, if you remember what I told you, I forget the exact name of the video, but I told you there is no feminism, there is no female solidarity at this level of the game. At this level of power, there is no female solidarity. That shit does not exist. Do you think that this female diplomat, Victoria Nuland, do you think she has any solidarity with the women that are trying to make a living in Niger because they have the commonality that they are both women? So we are both women standing against the patriarchy. No, there is no solidarity at this level of power. European women are going to stand behind their European men. Sorry if your business is going out of business. Sorry if you can't feed your children. Sorry you got 7 kids you can't feed. Sorry. We got to protect the interests of the United States. That's the #1 agenda. So if you got to go out of business, if your kids can't eat, sorry. It is what it is. We got to protect our multinational corporations. That comes first. Your livelihood doesn't matter to us. That is the mentality. I'm sorry, I told you. Life is about power, not morality. There is no female solidarity at this level of the game. There is none. The European woman at this level of power, she is going to stand behind her European man. There is no female solidarity. She's going to stand behind her European man just like she did during the slave trade, during colonization. The European woman stood behind the economic and political actions of the European man. There is no female solidarity. Get over it. Now let's continue. On the streets of Niamey, there is real anger at the way regional governments have reacted and the threat of military intervention. The soldiers in Niger are ready to face any aggression against our country of any kind. They should count on our support, the support of the population and its partners. We are ready, says Bana Ibrahim. The 46-year-old is one of the leaders of a so-called self-defense unit that has been set up in response to the ECOWAS announcement. Another member of the unit, Moudi Musa, agrees. We are here to defend our country because the country is threatened by ECOWAS mercenaries. I called them mercenaries in the pay of French President Emmanuel Macron. So we are here to protect Niger and the people of Niger. The coup has unleashed widespread anti-French sentiment across the country. Paris is accused of continuing to wield undue influence in Niger long after independence and unfairly benefiting from its natural resources while most people live below the poverty line. France has lost public goodwill in many Francophone countries and is now backing the unpopular intervention by ECOWAS in Niger. In a statement, the government in Paris said it affirms its full support for all the conclusions of this week's summit. On social media networks, regional heads of state are facing accusations of working in the interest of Western powers. Facts. Mr. Bazoum was a close ally of both the US and France and allowed them to have military bases in the country to help fight Islamist insurgents who are targeting the entire Sahel region of West Africa. The military option will prove to be very delicate, and there are many voices against it. Even former prime ministers, former dignitaries of Niger who are saying, please do not launch a military attack against our country. That will be terrible for the population. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to tell you how, in my opinion, Niger as the underdog in this predicament, how they can end up in the advantage, at least in the court of public opinion, right? How they can switch the narrative in their favor, right? They have a small military, they're underfunded, they're under-equipped, they're going against ECOWAS, which you already know is going to be heavily armed and heavily funded by the West. So how can they switch the tables in their advantage? I'm gonna tell you, if I was a military advisor, if I was a political advisor in the military government, this is what I would tell them. As it stands right now, enemy troops are already on the ground. The French and the Americans, they already have a military base here. They already have planes here. They already have military equipment here. They already have weapons here. The enemy has already arrived. The enemy is already inside the house. So they already have intelligence. They're already here. As you can see, this was from a protest, I believe sometime yesterday or today, where thousands of people had flooded the French army base, telling them to get the fuck out. Now, even though the West, they might have the money, they might have the firepower, but one thing they do not have, they do not have the support and the backing of the people and the citizens on the ground. The military government in Niger, they might not have the money, they might not have the firepower, but what they got is they got the support of the citizens. You remember earlier this week, they filled up a whole stadium, like 30,000 capacity. They filled up a whole stadium in support of the military government. Thousands of people, as you can see on this video, flooded in front of a French military base telling them to get the fuck out. One thing they got the backing of the people. And considering they got the backing of the people, it's going to be very hard for the Western powers to try to push their regular played out narrative of we are coming to liberate the people. We are coming to save the people. Because as you can see, the people are standing with the military government. The people are not requesting for your liberation. So this is what I would tell the military government in Niger. Number one, they got a population of about 27 million people. If you can mobilize a few million people, whenever the ECOWAS force is deployed and activated, whenever they invade, mobilize somewhere between 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people in the streets, right? And then you back them into a corner. They say they come to liberate the people, force them. You force their hand to embarrass themselves on the world stage. Because if they are going to slaughter innocent civilians, and I told you, this is the era of camera phones, social media, global communication. Those images of them slaughtering innocent civilians, it will go viral and it will destroy the image of ECOWAS. It will destroy the image of France. It will destroy the image of the United States. They will destroy their image on the world stage. Imagine the images of innocent black children, innocent black women, bleeding, dying all over the world, all over the internet, all in the name of protecting the interests of American and French multinational corporations. Imagine those images, those horrible images being blasted out to the world. I'm telling you, the entire narrative of we are coming to protect and liberate the people of Niger, we are coming to restore democracy. Those images of Western-backed soldiers taking the lives of innocent people, I'm telling you, that's going to destroy their image on the world stage, bro. And I'm telling you, the court of public opinion is going to shift against the Western-backed forces, and it's going to rally behind the people of Niger. You already have a very large population that is extremely young, does not have any hope for tomorrow, doesn't have any job, doesn't have any opportunity, doesn't know what tomorrow holds. They have nothing to lose. If they can rally just 5 million people in their population, just a few million people in their population, take to the streets against the invading army and force their hand, see if they are willing to spill innocent blood to protect the interests of American and French multinational corporations. And I guarantee you, they are not going to be able to bounce back from such embarrassment. That is what I would tell them. That's what I would tell them. Use the fact that you have the backing of the people to your advantage. Rally your citizens against the invaders and back them into a corner and force their hand and see how far they're willing to take it. See how far they're willing to take it. Get everything on camera, blast it to the world, blast it all over social media, and embarrass the Western powers. They won't be able to bounce back. They won't be able to justify it, bro. They won't be able to justify it, and the underdog will have the court of public opinion on his side. That's what I would say if I was the military leader in Niger. Now let's continue. Sometime yesterday, I had played a video from the ECOWAS meeting, the West African heads of state, and I showed a video, and I was surprised that there was so many white men and women in the building, right? Because like I told you, when the Europeans have their own political meetings, their own private conferences, you don't see a bunch of, black heads of state. You don't see a bunch of black diplomats in the room when they have their private meetings. At the Berlin conference, it wasn't no African kings invited to the Berlin conference. That was all white men behind closed doors meeting and discussing their political affairs in private. Black men were not invited. Black men were not allowed. But as you can see, in this ECOWAS meeting, when the West African heads of state are meeting to discuss what's happening in Niger, the next best steps to intervene in Niger, why do you have a bunch of Western diplomats in the audience? What is going? I thought it was a meeting of West African states. I thought it was a meeting of West African leaders. Why are the Western diplomats in the building? That shows you that ECOWAS is simply nothing but a vassal organization for the European Union, and that's it. That's it, bro. That's it. You can say whatever you want about the military governments in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso, but when they had their own private meeting last week, take a look up on the screen. You didn't see no white men in the room. You didn't see no white man standing on the steps taking pictures with the brothers. Say whatever you want, but that was black men linking up together, sitting at the round table like bosses, talking like brothers. It wasn't no Europeans standing in the goddamn room. It wasn't no Europeans nowhere to be found. But at the ECOWAS meeting, it's white men all over the goddamn place, man. What the hell, bro? And if you watch my video from the other day, we had spoke about how the 14th Emir of Kano State, Mahamadou Sanusi, he also met up with the military government in Niger. After the military government in Niger, they had rejected meeting with the African Union, they rejected meeting with ECOWAS, and they rejected meeting with a U.S. diplomat. But they chose to meet with Mahamadou Sanusi, the 14th Emir of Kano State in Nigeria. And if you understand the politics behind that, then you already know the military government in Niger is majority Hausa Fulani men. And the 14th Emir of Kano State, that's a high-ranking man in Hausa Fulani society. So they chose to meet with a man of their own culture, their own ethnic group. They chose to reject the meetings with the Europeans and the European mercenaries. And if you take a look up on the screen at the meeting between the 14th Emir of Kano State and the military government in Niger, I don't see any white men in the room, bruh. I just see black men in the room. I don't see no white boys in the goddamn room. So if there's one positive that we can take from this entire situation, is that ECOWAS has exposed themselves as an organization that is not really backed by the people. It's not really backed by the citizens, right? It's backed by foreign powers and foreign interests, at the end of the day. And I love this person's tweet. Take a look up on the screen. I love this person's tweet. They said this: the outside world respected Africa a lot more when we had pharaohs, emirs, obas, sultans, and kings at the realm. Our so-called democratic leaders today are in fact colonialist stooges. And that's a fact. That's a fact, bruh. People keep talking to me about democracy this, democracy that. I have not seen democracy play out in a successful way for African people. I haven't seen it yet, bruh. I haven't seen it. As it stands right now, democracy has not put up any points on the board. But our ancient governments, they put up many points on the board, okay? When a black man was in his natural element, like the brother said, when we had the days of the pharaohs and the kings and the obas and the sultans, and bro, we was on top, bro. We had the money and power. But now, we got all this democracy bullshit. They keep talking to me about democracy, and we broke as a joke. We fucked up in the game, bro, man. Fuck out of here with this shit, man. Anyway, it's your boy Neferkari Desalegn back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App up on the screen, and I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in the ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching me, blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage. I got business, this shit is an art, and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you in court. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.